Hello again, and welcome back to another episode of the Bible in 1 Year with the Preacher's Husband. Today, we're going through 2 Kings chapter 14 and 2 Chronicles chapter 25. Tomorrow will be the book of Jonah, chapters 1 through 4. So, today we are talking about some kings. And there's a king. One king in particular we're going to talk about is King Amaziah. Now, Amaziah was the son of Joash, and he became the king of Judah. Now, he did what was right in the sight of the Lord, but not like his ancestor David did. He did everything that his father Joash had done, but he still left people who were continuing to sacrifice and burn offerings and incense in high places. He didn't cut all that out. So essentially he said, we're going to worship the Lord, but if you guys over there want to do something else, you can do that. That's okay with him. So he didn't completely restore everything to the way it should be according to God. He just kind of let some things go. Now, once he became king and he got his kingdom firmly under his grasp, Amaziah killed his servants who had killed his father, the king. However, he did not put the children of those killers to death because he said it wasn't in the law of Moses where the Lord commanded fathers are not to be put to death because of their children, and children are not to be put to death because of their fathers. Instead, each one will be put to death for his own sins. Now, if you wonder where that was in the Bible, that was in Deuteronomy chapter 24, verse 16, if you want to go back and review that. So Amaziah, he killed tons and tons of people, 10,000 Edomites, he took Selah, and then he decides he's going to send some messengers to Jehoash, who was the king of Israel. He said, come, let's meet face to face. And Jehoash, he wasn't having any of that. He's like, listen, no, this is not going to happen. This is dumb because you and Judah's all going to die if this happens. But he didn't say that exactly that way. He said it through a story. And here's the story he said. He said, the thistle in Lebanon once sent a message to the cedar in Lebanon, saying, give your daughters to my son as a wife. Then a wild animal in Lebanon passed by and trampled the thistle. You have indeed defeated Edom, and you have become overconfident. Enjoy your glory and just stay home. Why should you stir up such trouble that you fall, you and Judah with you? But Amaziah, this king dude, would not listen. He wasn't having it. He's going, we're going to do this. So they met face to face. He's like, okay. And Judah got routed before Israel. Then Jehoash went to Jerusalem. He broke down 200 yards of Jerusalem's wall from Ephraim gate to the corner gate. And he took all the gold, silver, everything that was of value. He just took it all. He even took some hostages with him. And then he returned back home to Samaria after that. Long story short, both of these guys die, but Amaziah, he ends up dying kind of in a conspiracy type of a way. There was this conspiracy formed against him, similar to what's happened to other kings and his father before him, and he basically fled. However, the men who had conspired against him chased after him, they caught him, and they put him to death. So that brings us to King Jeroboam. Now, Jeroboam of Israel, he was the son of Jehoash that we just talked about, and he became the king of Israel in Samaria. He reigned for 41 years, but he did what was evil in the eyes of the Lord. He was a bad king. Now, something stood out to me. Verse 26 and 27 stood out to me. It says here, for the Lord saw that the affliction of Israel was very bitter for both slaves and free people. There was no one to help Israel. There was no one to help Israel. Verse 27 says, the Lord had not said that he would blot out the name of Israel under heaven, so he delivered them by the hand of Jeroboam, son of Jehoash. Now I get to thinking, okay, right down in this first verse, Lord saw the affliction of Israel was very bitter for both slaves and free people. I make a connection to like the Civil War and pre-Civil War during our slave history in the United States, and I think about how the lives for slaves, how bitter those lives must have been, and how once we got to slavery ending, how bitter some of the people who lost their slaves probably were about the whole situation. But I also got to thinking about where it says here, there was no one to help Israel. Well, a lot of slaves, they would say when you read memoirs and stuff that they felt like there was nobody to help them. It was hope. They had no hope. They were hopeless. They just had to do what they were told, and that was it. There was nobody to help them. But that wasn't exactly true. Because in verse 27, of course, God delivers them by the hand of, and I think of Harriet Tubman. That is one of the first people that comes to mind when I think of slavery in the United States as it relates to these biblical verses. Harriet Tubman lived from 1820 to 1913, and she was an escaped slave who repeatedly risked her life to free other slaves using a network of anti-slavery activists and safe houses known as the Underground Railroad. Also known as Moses, Harriet Tubman was an African-American abolitionist who inspired generations of African Americans that were struggling with equality and civil rights and all the things that we were discussing back then and arguing about and trying to come to terms with. During the Civil War, she served as a Union spy, and after the war, she helped set up schools for freed slaves and struggled for women's suffrage. To her biographer, Sarah H. Bradford, Harriet Tubman said this, and I'm going to read this the way it's written here. Okay, this is not me mispronouncing words in most cases. In most cases, these is actually how it's written here. It says, I had crossed the line of which I had so long been dreaming. I was free, but there was no one to welcome me to the land of freedom. I was a stranger in a strange land, and my home after all was down to the old cabin quarter, with the old folks, and my brothers and sisters. But to this solemn resolution I came. I was free, and they should be free also. I would make a home for them in the north, and the Lord helping me, I would bring them all there. Oh, how I prayed then, lying all alone on the cold, damp ground. Oh, dear Lord, I said, I hain't got no friend but you. Come to my help, Lord, for I'm in trouble. 'Twa'n't me, 'twas the Lord, I always told him. I trust to you. I don't know where to go or what to do, but I expect you to lead me, and he always did. You know, that statement right there where she says, oh, dear Lord, I hain't got no friend but you. Come to my help, Lord, for I'm in trouble. It's exactly what God did for the Israelites, and this is exactly what God did for Harriet Tubman, and then God used Harriet Tubman and the other activists in the Underground Railroad to save all of those other slaves. That's an impressive statement. That's an impressive life that she lived. And I'm very impressed with her. So there you have it. 3 times impressed. I hope this has touched you. If it has, click the like button and subscribe button. And of course, click the little jingle bell so you can get notified the next time I upload a video, which will be tomorrow for another episode of the Bible in 1 Year with the Preacher's Husband. I hope to see you then.